Welcome back everyone. This is the part 2 of our CRUD operation series. In this video, we are going to cover how to connect your NextJS application with the MySQL database using the Prisma ORM. In the first video, we covered what exactly is Prisma ORM, why it is useful, and how we can install this Prisma ORM on our Next.js application and Node.js application. If you haven't done already, I would request you to subscribe to my channel. It gives me the immense pleasure to create all these videos for you guys. Do let me know in the comments if you want specific tutorials to be built or any specific topic to be covered. So let's jump right into it. For this tutorial, what I have done, I have simply created a blank Next.js project. I named this project as Next.js MySQL. I've simply just installed this project just now, and what we are going to do now is we are going to install Prisma. To install Prisma, what we have to do, we have to type in the command npm install Prisma. What this command will do, it will install Prisma on our project, and then we have to initialize the Prisma. To initialize the Prisma, what we have to do, we have to type in the command npm Prisma init data source provider MySQL. As in this tutorial we'll be covering MySQL, I've selected MySQL as my data source provider. I'll hit the enter and wait for Prisma to get initialized. On the left hand side, you can see after initializing Prisma, a new folder is created called Prisma. Also, environment file is added. Let's go to the environment file first. In the environment file, as we selected MySQL as my data source, a default URL is provided by Prisma. In the Prisma folder, I've got schema.prisma file. In this Prisma file, you can see the client is Prisma client. We are going to talk about Prisma client in the next video. And the data source is as MySQL. The URL for database is stored in the env file. Let's look at our database first. How does it look like? I'm running a MySQL server on my local machine. I'll show you the structure just now. On the left hand side, you can see all the schemas which are there in my localhost MySQL server. There are no tables, views, stored procedure or function created so far in my machine. Now let's try to connect our Next.js application with the MySQL server. To do that, firstly we have to rename the database URL. The user which I'm using is root. The password is root, and the schema which I'm going to connect with is MySQL test schema. Give it a quick save and let's try to focus on schema.prisma file. Before moving further in schema.prisma file, what we have to do, we have to go into extension and we have to install one extension called Prisma. This extension will help you to navigate through the schema.prisma file and get the suggestions, ESLint suggestions from your code itself. To get started with Prisma, we have to understand how Prisma works. Firstly, you have to create models in this system. What is model? Model is basically a table structure represented in Prisma. When we transfer this model to a database, if the database is relational, it becomes a table. If it is a NoSQL database, it becomes a dictionary. I'll give you a very quick example. How does the model look like? To get started with model, we have to type in the command model. I'm giving my name to the model as users. The very first column required by Prisma is ID. It should be ID column, and it should be a unique column. So you can see I selected, this is the column name, this is the type of column, and this is the attribute which Prisma provides to us. Whenever we see at the rate, all these attributes are provided to us by Prisma, and I am able to see this with the help of Prisma extension we just talked about. I'm going to assign a unique value to this, and I want every time it to get incremented automatically. So I have selected at the rate default, and I'm going to auto increment this value. So it will start from 1 and it will keep on incrementing whenever we add rows in our database. The second column which I am going to add is first name. It is a string type field. Last name, string type field. Validated, a boolean field, and we are going to add two more fields, created at, and it's a date time field. The default value which I'm going to assign is now. Now means the current timestamp. Updated at, again, if some updates are performed on this user, then we can store the date and time in updated at field. One more attribute provided by Prisma is updated at. Once we are done with our modeling, we have to go back to our terminal and we have to type in the command npx prisma migrate dev. What this command is going to do, it is going to migrate your models. Firstly it will generate a SQL, then it will migrate your model to the database. Let's hit enter and see what it does. It asks me for the name of migration so that it can keep track of every migration. I'm going to say dev1. Now you can see on the left hand side a migration folder is created under Prisma, and you can see a dev1 migration is created just now. You can see the SQL command as well, create table users, which got triggered in our database. Let's see how our MySQL database is looking right now. If I click a refresh on the tables within MySQL, you can see all the migrations which has happened under this table, Prisma migrations. This is created by Prisma, and then a brand new table is created as users. Let's try to see the structure of this table. If I go to the columns, all the columns which we just created in Prisma model are replicated here. The ID column, last name, first name, created at, updated at, validated, and update, so and so forth. So the very next step is, how do I access these tables? How do I create data into this table to test the Prisma is working fine or not? The next step which we are going to do, we are going to open one more terminal and we are going to type command npx prisma studio. So this Prisma Studio is nothing but a web-based application where you can create data on the fly directly on the web browser. Whatever the models you have created in your project will appear under this all model section, and you can simply click on these models. Let us try to go inside users model and try to add a record. If we add a record for first name as webdev, last name as wise, the validated as true, and let's leave everything as blank because we have got defaults here. Save one change. We have saved this change in the model. The moment we save this change will be reflected in our database. Let's try to query our database. Select star from test.users. As you can see, on the top we have got our query. The ID is 1. The first name is web dev wise, verified as 1, created at, updated at. In the back end, we stored the value as boolean, but Prisma converts this boolean into an integer which has got one value, either 1 or 0, which is converted internally into boolean. So that's how you create your model into the application. Now, the very first important concept is how do we make relationships between the tables. For example, a user can create multiple blocks if we are creating application for blocks. If we are creating a to-do list, a user can create multiple to-dos. A user can create multiple things, those are related to them. How to create a relationship between two models? To do that, there are three ways. So the very first way is one-to-one relationship. A user will be having one-to-one relationship with other model. Let's try to create one more model called model to do. In this model, what we are saying is there is a ID column. I'm going to use the same auto increment functionality, and then to do text string completed, it's a boolean, and then what we are going to say, user ID, to which user ID it is associated to. It should be a string. Let's mark this as int, and it is a unique. And then what we are going to do, I'm going to create a relationship fields user ID. I'm going to talk about it in a second. Just let me finish this command. Yep. Now what we have done, we have created a model to do. In this model, we have created three fields: ID, to do, text completed. We have created one more field to which user ID does this to do text belong. And to complete the relation between this user ID and the ID of user models, we have created a relation here where we are saying the field user ID is referencing the ID field of user's model. Now to complete this relationship, what we have to do, we have to modify our users relation as well. We have to add a to do reference as well in our users table. Once we do this, all the errors are gone and we have identified this one-to-one relationship. That means a user is going to create one to do only. One user, one to do. How we are achieving this? If you look at this user ID field, I have marked as unique for a single to do. And that's how we are achieving this one-to-one relationship. Now let's go to the terminal and migrate this to our Prisma. Migrate tab. To migrate this, I am going to say the migration name is dev2. The moment I migrate this, let's see the position of our database. If I give a refresh to my tables, you can see a new to-do table is created in the system, and then it shouldn't have any data. We are going to create some data in a moment, but the structure is there: ID, to-do text completed, and user ID. Now to validate the structure, we have to stop our Prisma Studio and rerun this. Once we rerun our Prisma Studio, we'll click on plus, we will be able to see all the new models. So to do is the model which we just created. Before going to the to do model, let's try to add users. One more user. I'm going to name this user as test user 1 last name, something like this, and give it a quick save. Let's try to go to our to-do model. Under to-do model, create a record and to-do item 1. I'm creating one item under to-do, and the user which I'm going to tag this against is number 1. Save the changes. So this to-do is belonging to user 1 in this example. As we said, this is one-to-one relationship. Can we add one more to-do to user number 1? Let's try to do this. The user number 1, if I try to select for to-do item 2, no, Prisma will not let you to create this. When you are trying to do this functionality by the code, you will get the same error. So that's how you identify your one-to-one relationship between the two schemas. If I change this user from 1 to 2 and then give it a save, system lets us to save this because it is a one-to-one relationship. Now the next type of relationship which we talked about is one-to-many. A user can definitely have more than one to-dos. How to achieve that one-to-many relationship between two models? To do that, firstly, what we are going to do, we are going to remove our model. One interesting thing about Prisma is if we remove something from our schema.prisma file, it will get removed from the database as well. So let's comment this out and let's comment this to-do relation from the users. If I go back to my terminal and try to migrate this dev again, npx prisma migrate dev, hit enter. Yes, the dev name is, migration name is dev3. Now I have migrated my dev and I have removed my to-do model from this migration. Let's see the database. If I go here in the database, if I refresh, the to-do model is gone and you are not able to see the to-do model at all. Let's try to create a one-to-many relationship now. To do that, what we have to do, we have to uncomment this entire model again, and instead of having this relationship as unique, I am going to remove this the uniqueness of this relationship, and then in the user schema, user model, what we are going to say, it will be an array of objects. The relation will be an array of objects. Now let's try to understand this in a bit more detail. The users can have multiple to-dos. That's why we are saying it will be an array of objects, and the model for to-do is containing the user IDs to which it is belonging. Let's try to migrate this to our database. Same command, npx prisma migrate dev. I'm going to name this migration as dev4, and let's look at MySQL. I'll give it a quick refresh. Again, I can see a to-do. Nothing should be changed in terms of the structure, but Prisma internally understand these are one-to-many relationships they have created. Let's go back and stop our Prisma Studio for a second, and then we'll run this again so that we can try our one-to-many relationship now. I'll close all the models. I'll go to the user model. I can see two user models, two user rows, web dev wise and test user 1. I'll open my to-do model. In the previous example you saw, we can have only one-to-one relationship. Now let's try to create one-to-many. To-do item 1 The user ID which I'm going to select is 1. Save the changes. So this to do item is belonging to user 1. Let's try to add to do item 2, and the user ID to which it belongs again is 1. Give it a save. See, both the to-dos are belonging to same user ID. That means a single user can have more than one to-dos listed in the system. Now let's try to do one more thing here. But before doing that, let's see our position in our database. If I go to my database and if I run select star from test.todo, you can see two rows are created with two IDs, to do item 1, to do item 2, and the user ID is 1. So whatever you are able to see on Prisma Studio on your front end, same thing will be replicated in your database. Let's try to do one more thing. Can we assign this to do to multiple users? Let's try to click on the user number 2. No, because we are identifying this as a parent-child relationship. So the parent is user and the child is the to-do. Because of that, we are able to select only one parent of a child. We can't select more than one parent in this example. And to fix that, we have got the third type of relationship, that is many-to-many relationship. Let's see how the many-to-many relationship works in Prisma. I'll close the terminal again. What I'm going to do, I am going to create one more example where I'm saying a to-do can have multiple tags. You might have seen on the blog post that a blog can be categorized into multiple categories and a single category can be assigned to multiple blogs. It is a many-to-many relationship. That means, for example, a blog is created for technology. You can assign that tag technology to a blog. Vice versa, a technology tag can have multiple blogs assigned to it. So this is many-to-many relationship in a relational database that is not supported. But we are going to see in this example how Prisma works out this many-to-many relationship in a relational database. To do that, I'm going to create one more model called tags. I'm going to add a column ID. Oops. It should be integer ID column and it should be auto incremented. The next thing which I'm going to add is tag name string, and to add relationship between to do and this tag, we are simply going to add one more column called to do, which is referring to this parent, and in the parent we are going to tell what all childs we are going to refer. Tag will be tags with square brackets. Now let's try to do a recap. In this, what we have done, we have created a to-do model where we are saying it can have multiple childs of tags. And in the tags model, what we have said, it can have multiple parents of to-do. So that means it is a many-to-many relationship in the database. Let's go to our database again, terminal again, and we are going to run one more command to migrate this changes into our database. Prisma migrate dev. I'm going to name this migration as dev 5. Once we migrate this to our database, let's look at database position. I'll give a quick refresh to my tables. A tags table is added by Prisma, and interestingly, one more table called tags to do. A tags to do table is added by Prisma in the system. I'll come back to this tags to do table and tags table in a second after inserting data from the Prisma Studio. So let's jump back to our Prisma Studio. Stop this Prisma Studio for a second and rerun our Prisma Studio. Once we rerun our Prisma Studio, you can see the tags are added as a model into our Prisma Studio. I'll go inside this model, add a new record. Tag 1, I want to assign this tag to multiple parents, multiple to-do items. I can do that. Yes, I can do that. If I add one more record, tag 2, can assign this to single parent? Yes, I can assign it to single parent. So what we are doing here is we are storing a relationship between two tables with multiple parents. So a tag can be assigned to multiple parents and vice versa. If I go to do, let me close this. I'll bring up the new to do model. If I go to the to do model, you can see a tag column is added. And here we have assigned two tags to the first to do item and one tag to the second to do item. I can select and modify my tags here as well. Give it a save. Everything is done. Let's go to our database again and see how this entire information is stored in database. Select star from test.todo. Tags. You can see there are no IDs stored where the parents are, where the childs are, to what to do does this tag belong to. Similarly, if I run my select star from to do, there are no tag IDs. To what tag ID does this column belong to? Does this to do belong to? What Prisma has done, it has created one more table called underscore tags to do. So this table stores that many to many relationship, underscore tags to do. If I run this table, the very first column it says tags. So the column A represents my tags ID to do. That means the second column B represents my ID of the to do. If you read this table, it says tag ID 1 is related to tag to do ID 1, tag ID 2 is related to tag ID 2. That's how the relationship many to many is stored in our database by Prisma. In the next video, we are going to talk about how to interact with the database rather than going into the Prisma Studio or on the SQL workbench. How we can interact with the database by Prisma client. So stick around, do subscribe to my channel, press the notification icon so that you will get notified when the video is launched. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day.